against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, covering news, culture, and magic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into Simply Bitcoin Live, the most watched daily Bitcoin-only live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We have three things that I want to cover today. Three reasons as to why 2025 is going to be absolutely insane. I truly believe Bitcoin is on the verge of going mainstream. And the reason I'm saying that is you had literally... yesterday, you had the president of Bitcoin Magazine, also the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, not only saying that, but he also had an article that was retweeted by Donald Trump Jr. The name of the article is "Trump is the best choice for Bitcoin," right? Which is really interesting for a couple of reasons. They don't say crypto, they say Bitcoin. And if you still think I'm seeing things that are not there, in the speech that he did in front of the libertarians, he made the case. He said, I'm going to protect crypto and I'm going to protect Bitcoin, but he differentiated between the two, which I thought was really, really interesting. Also, in other news, the shining country on a hill. You guys know I love to talk about it. We have El Salvador and some bullish stuff coming out of there as well. You had Kathy Wood at an Unchained event in Texas, basically saying, quote, Bukele will increase El Salvador's GDP by 10x over his next 5-year term. Now, that's bullish for a couple of reasons. Obviously, for the people of El Salvador, these are people that have suffered. They went through a civil war, absolutely atrocious. But you're going to see other countries seeing what El Salvador does, and they'll be like, it's probably a good idea to... at least copy some of his moves, right? Whether that's protecting private property, being friendly to business, perhaps adopting a Bitcoin strategy. I think a lot of people are going to look over his shoulder and say, hey, maybe that's probably a good idea. And that's something similar to what we're seeing with MicroStrategy and the public company strategy. You had another company, Selmer Scientific, came out of nowhere, basically a zombie company, say, hey, we're going to follow in the footsteps of MicroStrategy. Their stock went up like 30%. I think you're going to see more and more public companies follow in the footsteps of MicroStrategy, and I think you're going to see more nation states follow in the footsteps of El Salvador. So I think we're on the verge of something absolutely bonkers. And of course, I can't, the political environment, like this is the first year that Bitcoin is on the ballot here in the United States. Like we've been talking about this moment for a long time on Simply Bitcoin, but we always anticipated that it was going to be 2028. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that you're going to have a presidential candidate in front of the Libertarian Conference literally say, I'll protect Bitcoin and I'll free Ross Ulbricht. Like, that's how you know that this cultural movement, this Bitcoin movement, has accumulated power. It's accumulated influence. He wouldn't be saying those things. At the end of the day, he's a politician. He wouldn't be saying those things if he didn't feel like they would get him votes from a very powerful and growing voter base in the United States. And you're seeing you're seeing this pattern all over the world. It's not only here in the US. You had, of course, Javier Milei, you had Nayib Bukele, you have the Canadian election coming up, Justin Trudeau versus the guy that I can't pronounce his last name, Poliver. Hope I said that correctly. But the point is that I think people are sick and tired of what the status quo of what currently exists. And I think they're seeking alternatives, and Bitcoin is that alternative. So our responsibility is really to shine the light on Bitcoin, and hopefully that brings people together. Hopefully the whole divide and conquer method of liberal versus conservative, right versus left kind of dissipates, and people wake up and they realize, okay, it doesn't matter what political party is in power, they're going to print money either ways. The way to fix this is by fixing the money. And when you fix the money, you fix the world. All right, everybody, it's going to be a great show. I do want to bring up my legendary co-host, always optimistic. I don't call him Optimus Fields for no reason. How you doing, Opti?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Life's great. Can never complain as a Bitcoiner.
Could you
and
rate
also,
your
man,
wonderfulness? 5.
I
10
am
1 through 10.
I'm gonna go with like an 8 today. I couldn't go to bed last night.
We're changing Opti's name to Nihilus Fields. He is no longer on the show. I'm just kidding.
I'm at
Just
like an
trolling
8,
him a
dude.
little
For
bit.
some reason, I couldn't get to bed till late. But, you know, I got to up the energy today because we got Adam O'Brien, and he always puts me to shame with how much energy he can actually muster at every moment of every day. So even though I might be low energy, it doesn't mean I'm still not optimistic, okay? This is a way of life. This is a lifestyle. This isn't just a behavioral thing. This is how you view the world. It's the only way to go forward. Anyways, let's bring in Adam.
I like that. All right. I do want to bring up on stage the most badass CEO in Bitcoin, of course, Adam O'Brien. How you doing, Adam?
Yo, boys, what's good? Look, I got laser beams today because it's a great day to be here. We're bringing the energy, as Opti said. The Oilers are down in the most important sport.
Yeah,
in
can we
history.
kick off Nico now because like he's bandwagoning the Panthers? No, actually, can we joke about the fact that I bandwagoned the Stars? They lost to the Oilers, and now I'm bandwagoning the Oilers, and they're losing to the Panthers. So maybe I should bandwagon the Panthers now.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's not really a joke. That's just like this is bad news, bro.
Adam's literally like, dude, take off the hat. It's your fault that we're losing.
The craziest thing to me is the fact that it's been the Oilers that have been against Opti City team, and then it's been against the Miami City team. I had no idea that was even a thing. I was like, yeah, I think Miami is like, I think Miami has a hockey team. Oh yeah, they have the Panthers. That's right. And then like, dude, what are the odds that they both end up in the finals?
But here's how politics, to wrap it all into the money, here's how politics affects the hockey. Florida has no state tax. And so in this salary cap era, and the salary cap in the NHL is not like the NBA where you just pay a luxury tax. So like, it doesn't really matter. In the NHL, it's a hard cap. You cannot field a team that is above, the cap. And so in the NHL, guys that go to Florida take a massive discount to play because they don't have to pay state tax. And so they get all the best players for cheaper than if you have to. And to be fair, Canada has a little bit of that advantage because the cap is in US dollars. And so like Canadian players get right now it's like a 40% lift on their paycheck, which is kind of crazy and kind of hilarious. But the taxes in Canada are like really horrific.
Wait,
it's kind of funny.
Wait, Adam, does Bitcoin fix this?
Yo, it will surprise no one to hear that yes, Bitcoin fixes this. If we were on a Bitcoin standard, and if the salary cap was on a Bitcoin standard, and the state was abolished, and money and state were separated, there would be no problems, obviously. Oh yeah, we got the horn. I've been on here like 60 seconds. We already got the horn. This is going to be a good day.
All right, guys, it's going to be a great show. I'm incredibly excited. But first, before we do that, I do want to give a very special shout out to our lead sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is a publicly traded company coming out of Canada that recently expanded to all 50 US states. It is self-custody by default. What does that mean? It means that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you're going to take self-custody, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Support self-custody Bitcoin on-ramps. Go to the bitcoinwell.com website, buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. It's a clear 1% spread. It's obviously Bitcoin only, and it's non-custodial, empowering sovereign ownership with free automatic self-custody. So head over to Bitcoin Well. If you're an existing customer, every time you buy Bitcoin, you earn points, and you can use those points towards the Bitcoin wishing well. Toss a coin, win some sats. So I'm going to leave this QR code up on the screen for you guys. First one to scan it gets the sats. Let's check it out. It says you're being transported back to 1999 when the Y2K bug is being successfully addressed. Toss your coin into the Bitcoin wishing well and wish for a better future. If you're lucky, you'll win up to 1 million sats or one of the other great prizes floating around in the well. Let's check it out. Here we go. And toss the coin, bing, into the well. And 500 sats for you guys. First one to scan it.
Wait, why Nico does the other one? Why 1999, Adam?
Oh, we just picked sometime in the 90s. So it's like there's like 50, and what we're going to be doing here soon, Nico, if you can go ahead and throw the other one if you want. We're going to be getting customers to submit them, and then if they're good, we're gonna throw them into
Hell yeah.
into there. Have you guys gotten lucky yet with like more than 500, or is it always 500?
No, it's always been,
It's-
but it's
Oh,
always been
man.
500. But I was sitting here with my wallet because if it's a million sats, sorry guys, I'm gonna take it.
You're not supposed to do that, Opti. All right,
Dude,
everybody.
spot me if you can.
Best
Bro,
place.
let's
Go ahead.
do
Al.
one more. I think I hope that, man, it'd be great if we get like a big prize on the show. I have no control over the randomness, but I just love to G-gen into the wishing well. Like I do this personally. My kids and I, we love this. It's always 500. Damn. My kids and I got a 2100 on the first night we released, which was pretty dope. My son freaked out. He values sats so much. And he was like, 2100, 2100. He was in his underwear, like ripping around the house, yelling. The baby had just gone to bed. My wife was like, quiet, quiet. He's like, I got 2100 sats. Like,
This the way. This the way.
Your son knows what's up. Guys, head over to bitcoinwell.com today. It's the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Let's hit the numbers.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. Check out the Stamp Seed website. Don't put yourself in a situation where you have to explain to your grandchildren why you lost them your generational wealth. It's a bad situation. Don't find yourself in that situation. Use promo code SIMPLY, anything on stampseed.com. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 66,680. Sats per dollar, 1,500 flat. Block height, 847,507. Blocks to halving, 202,493. Halving estimate, March 25th, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,792 Bitcoin. Capacity value, 320 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.6%. Market capitalization, 1.31 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 8.2%. In the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is just getting started. Anyways, to the Bitcoin going mainstream news, I do want to cover this. This is the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine. He says, in retrospect, there was no clear sign of what was to come than Larry Fink showing up. I 100% agree with that statement. When Larry Fink went on the legacy financial media and he started using the Bitcoin talking points, mind you, 5 years earlier from when he did that, he was saying that Bitcoin is an index of money laundering. The change in tune just legitimized Bitcoin, not that it needed it, but legitimized Bitcoin in the eyes of the institutions, right? So all of a sudden, if you're one of these like, wealth management banks, right, you'd say Bitcoin is a scam. When BlackRock goes into the room, they put their name behind it. Can't really say that anymore, right? So you're starting to see this kind of institutional interest, and you can make a really strong, not that it needed it, but you can make a really strong case. I would even say BlackRock didn't need Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin didn't need BlackRock. BlackRock needed Bitcoin. That's what I would say in regards to that. But anyways, David Bailey goes on to say, within 6 years, Bitcoin will be the backbone of the global financial system. Its market cap will exceed the US GDP. Every pension fund in the world will have significant exposure. Bookmark it. And again, just to connect the dots for you guys, you had major US banks basically announce that they have exposure to the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. You had the first state pension fund, the state of Wisconsin, I think it was like $150 million that they allocated to the BlackRock ETF. Now, this is captured Bitcoin. This isn't real Bitcoin, but regardless, they are getting exposure to number go up technology. Obviously, we'd want, all these companies and all these pension funds to buy real Bitcoin, put it into self-custody, but one step at a time, I guess. I don't know. I guess that isn't very popular, that statement with a lot of Bitcoiners, but here's Donald Trump Jr. And he's tweeting, Trump is the best choice for Bitcoin. Keep an eye out because he didn't say crypto. He said Bitcoin. And also shout out to the team over at Bitcoin Magazine for making that happen. Because I don't think Trump really knows the difference between the two. But obviously he's getting good advice, and that's absolutely awesome. So check this out. This is the article from Bitcoin Magazine. It says Trump is the best choice for Bitcoin. Why Donald Trump is the best presidential candidate to foster a safe and innovative environment for Bitcoin. Now, again, I can't emphasize this enough. The fact that Bitcoin is a election issue now is a big deal. I think it highlights how important Bitcoin is and kind of like the mainstream consciousness, or else politicians wouldn't talk about it because I'd say this is going to hurt my bottom line at the end of the day. But he feels strong. He says, you know what? I'm going to be pro Bitcoin because the other candidate is obviously being anti-Bitcoin. And again, it's not that we decided to make this partisan. It's like you have the current administration that has taken an extremely hostile look towards the entire industry, towards Bitcoin, and they've been pro CBDC. And then you had the other candidates, RFK Jr., who spoke at the Bitcoin conference last year, by the way. And you have Donald Trump, who have taken a pro Bitcoin stance and anti CBDC stance. The current administration created that opportunity for the political opponent to capitalize on their draw ball. Like I don't think you can't look at me with a straight face and tell me that people under the age of 35 somehow dislike Bitcoin and are pro CBDCs. Like they're riding on the coattails of people being uninformed on the matter, right? But how long could that, how long could that last? Anyways, 1 in 4 Americans own Bitcoin. Like that's a huge percentage. That's more Americans than are over the age of 65. But how often do you hear candidates talk about senior concerns compared to concerns of crypto owners? President Donald Trump has been making a concerted effort in the 2024 campaign trail to appeal to Bitcoiners. At the recent Libertarian National Convention, President Trump vowed to stop Biden's crusade to crypto custody and assured Bitcoin hodlers specifically that he supports the right to self-custody. I say this with your vote. This is Donald Trump's quote, by the way. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin, and I will never allow the creation of a CBDC. It's clear which candidate this November is the best choice for Bitcoin owners, the entire industry, Donald Trump. He appears to see the wisdom of pro-Bitcoin stances taken by popular leaders around the world, such as Presidents Javier Milei and Nayib Bukele. Accordingly, he is staking out a clear position. Trump acknowledges our right to self-sovereignty, and perhaps no one better understands the value of decentralization. As people have been losing trust in institutions like the government and banks, Trump has been the target of unprecedented lawfare politicizing the justice system, and Trump-affiliated organizations have been debanked and deplatformed. That's really interesting. We're heading down that route that we're talking about that. I mean, look, we had a very difficult episode. Like it was so hard for me to do. And Opti was like already saying like Trump derangement syndrome. I was like, no, Opti, we have to remain inclusive in our messaging. But I find it interesting that Bitcoin Magazine is taking a stance here. But I mean, I've put a lot of thought into this. And at the end of the day, like it fundamentally boils down to like, I don't care about all the other political issues because I think they all stem from broken money. But it all boils down to the fact that there's one political candidate that is against the entire industry. You have multiple Lightning wallets just dip. They just left the country because why would they want to set up a business here if the government is after them? And then you have the other side. And by the way, it's not only Trump, it's RFK Jr. as well. I just want to emphasize that they're taking a pro Bitcoin stance. Now, does Bitcoin need politicians in order to thrive and survive? No. But what I will say as a Bitcoin media entrepreneur, and we have a Bitcoin entrepreneur in the house today to talk about this as well, is that politicians sure could make your life a living hell, especially as a business owner. Like they just can. Like you're just thinking about all these like situations. Like what if they ban self-custody? Like, can I talk about self-custody on the show? Like I remember when the FBI news dropped, me and Adam were going back and forth and I sent him a screenshot. I'm like, dude, look at the FBI. Like they're talking about self-custody. This is nuts. So yeah, like the reality is as we transition from, the the analog age, the age of, you know, nation states, the age of politics, into the information age. Hopefully that makes politics irrelevant over the long run. During the transitionary period, I don't think we have a choice but to pay attention to fiat politics, because if we don't pay attention to fiat politics, they'll pay attention, like they'll know we're there. And what I will say, because I know a lot of you guys are going to say, Nico, it doesn't matter, whatever. It's like, okay, bro, then move, right? Like, if you're willing to move and be this nomad and just go to El Salvador and, you know, do that, sweet. But I think most people, they don't really have that luxury. Like most people, they have to stay where they are. If they have to stay where they are, then you kind of have to, you know, sit up and fight, unfortunately. Now, putting all these things together as it relates to the title of today's video, like think about the absolute gigantic forces coming together in this epic, like, showdown, right? You have Larry Fink, you have the CEO of BlackRock, basically legitimizing Bitcoin in the eyes of institutions. You have MicroStrategy's Bitcoin strategy being the most successful strategy in the stock market right now. You have Nayib Bukele, his country is flourishing. I don't think that's a coincidence that the first country that made Bitcoin legal tender, you have the most popular president in the Americas. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's an example of what happens when you fix the base layer of society. And then, of course, on the other side, in the United States, even in Canada, I know it's coming up as well, Bitcoin has become a mainstream political issue. And I think it's on the verge of entering the mainstream as more and more people by the day wake up to the scam that is fiat money, wake up to the scam that is inflation. And once people wake up to the scam, all roads lead to Bitcoin. They all do. They all lead to Bitcoin. But all this being said, you will only benefit from this amazing future that we're heading into at full speed if you take Bitcoin into self-custody. If you don't take Bitcoin into self-custody, you're absolutely cucked. You're just watching from the sidelines. So it's incredibly important that you learn how to take self-custody, use self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramps, of course, like Bitcoin Well being, like, I think the only one. And just, that's how we win, man. The more of us take self-custody, we'll win faster. And if enough of us do it, we'll win. And there's absolutely nothing they could do about it. So Adam, I know that's a very controversial take. This take of like, holy shit, I already see the comments. I'm not even reading the comments, but I already see them. I thought this was a Bitcoin show. Like, what the fuck is this going on? Like, I thought we were talking about Bitcoin. But dude, like someone who's an entrepreneur, the realities of owning a business in meat space and employing a business in meat space where the state's monopoly on violence really gives them a strategic advantage, to say the least. You have no choice but to maneuver in these types of environments. Now, I know that, for example, Canada has something very similar to the US, where the provinces, the states, have different types of jurisdictions compared to the others. So you can play a little bit of judicial arbitrage, but at the same time, you're still like kind of in the middle of this giant federal bullshit mix of, you know, regulations and stuff. So I want to get your take, man. Like, is this a surprise you that we're here, especially like yourself, dude? You're coming from class of 2013. I could have never have imagined that, man. Like it must have been seen as inconceivable at that point.
Dude, 100%. It is crazy that where we've come. I mean, over the last 10 years, especially, it's absolutely insane. I want to touch on something you said earlier, which is that, like, you're bang on. Bitcoin does not need politicians, but Bitcoin businesses and new Bitcoiners need politicians to enjoy or to want to protect Bitcoin rights and Bitcoin self-custody. And the reason for that is because if the nation does not adopt Bitcoin, the nation will fall. That's just, you know, you can bookmark that. Let's play that back in like 10, 15 years when we're going to see, you know, G7 nations fail because they did not adopt a Bitcoin standard. They didn't adopt Bitcoin fast enough. They were rude and mean to the Bitcoin businesses. And I think that as someone who has not orange pilled enough people yet, like my entire family has heard me speak about Bitcoin. My extended family and my network of friends have heard me speak, but they do not all have self-custody Bitcoin. They are not all living on the Bitcoin standard. I have not done my work yet. My work is not done here in Canada and broadly in North America. And so until that time is there, I want to decelerate. We need as much time as possible. What is it? 1 in 4 Americans, or is it, I forget what it was, 1 in 4 Americans own Bitcoin, or 3 in 4. It's not 4 in 4. It's not 100% yet. And until 100% of people own Bitcoin, realize the scam of fiat, and opt out of fiat with a Bitcoin in self custody, we just, frankly, we cannot afford. There's too much pain that's involved in having politicians try to fight. And like you said, the disparity. Imagine a country that didn't adopt, I mean, safety says it best, gunpowder back in the war. But even more recently, the internet. Like, imagine a country that was like, nah, we're good. Internet's bad. We don't want internet to be thriving. Imagine if America had that. Like, America would be zero right now. There would be no USA. It would be a very fragmented states of China or of something else. And it's only because we adopted new technology. It's only because we were loose in regulating new technology when the state didn't understand that it was able to thrive, and that America could take that massive leap forward into sovereignty. And so I think if we want the same thing with this new modern technology to literally fix the money, Bitcoin fixes everything that's wrong with the existing financial ecosystem in North America. It hits it all. And it's so simple, yet so secure. It's perfect. And so if we want a chance to not have to leave, to not have to uproot our families, to not have to re-assimilate somewhere else, that's painful. Like, people are like, oh, I'm just going to take my cold card and go. And like, yes, you could. And absolutely, you can bolt and head to a different jurisdiction, but you have to assimilate. I was talking to a friend who recently moved, did that, right? Did the expat from Canada, out he goes. And I'm like, tell me, like, what's it like? How's it going? Because my family and I, like, we have to consider this. He's like, yeah, it's pretty good, right? Sunshine and beaches and 1% tax, and like, it's awesome. He's like, but there's no restaurants, but there's no paved roads, but there's no, like, you're not getting an SD card to your house because you need one in like 24 hours. Like, the infrastructure that makes America so convenient is gone. And there's some benefits to that, right? Let's lower our time preference. Let's slow life down a little bit. Sure. All that to say, that's all, that's a whole other conversation. But the infrastructure of convenience that we've come to rely on, that we've come to enjoy and appreciate because of the efforts of our forefathers, is gone if we have to expatriate, if we have to leave, if we have to go to a building jurisdiction. And frankly, I would rather build a Bitcoin standard here than go and rebuild some kind of other standard elsewhere. And I think that when we see politicians coming in and saying, okay, I'm not 100% sure what's going on here, but I'm not going to crush it, that is the best case scenario. Let's just not crush the Bitcoin industry, and let's let Canada and America in North America here thrive and build and become prosperous, I think is the hope here.
Amen to that. And it's so interesting, Adam, because like, we're not asking for a lot. It's just like, just get out of the way. Like, literally,
Please,
it's just like,
don't kill my industry.
It's like, all they have to do, it's like, we're not asking for like a special handout or special privileges or any of that stuff. It's just kind of like, could you just leave us alone, please? And,
Dude,
and left to our own devices, we're going to win. And I think that's why they feel like they have the necessity to kind of get involved, because they see Bitcoin as a threat, a fundamental threat to the existing system.
We have to look at, like, we separated church from state, a couple thousand years ago. We're in the process of separating money from state. We have not separated anything from the state in like millennia. Like, it's been a very long time since the state has actively had democracy work against it. It has been a very long time. And here we are as a democratic nation actively working against the control manipulation of the money, which is like, money is all fake, right? It's a reflection of our time. It's us, right? Bitcoin or slavery. I mean, I'm not sure. Some guy says that. I can't remember who. something Overton, something slavery.
You're against Bitcoin. You're against freedom.
We have to understand that this is the first time in, like, forget recent, in a long-term history where the state is actively being, oppressed, and we're taking something from the state. And I think that, it's not going to be easy, but we're doing it perfectly right now. We've got Bitcoiners, lowered time preference. We've got, this right sound money ethos leading the charge. It's peaceful. I think we're doing about it the right way, and we just need as much time as possible to continue this ethos on.
Amen. Beautiful, beautiful. Opti, what's your optimistic take on this, brother?
Well, I might start a little pessimistic because you
Optimus
asked
Fields 2024.
No, I'm not old enough yet. But anyways, you asked a rhetorical question. Is it too much to ask governments to just leave us alone? And I would say yes. Their sole purpose is to literally not leave us alone, Nico. So, maybe I'm the extremist here, but, first and foremost, I think I've said this on the show many, many times. I, for one, have little faith in the system. So either politician, in my opinion, is going to, in my opinion, again, my lowly opinion, is going to be an acceleration moment, whether it's, the Biden administration fighting us or Trump giving us 4 years of cover. Either way, we're in an acceleration moment right here with Bitcoin, but it really reminds me of that Plato quote, and everyone in the chat is saying it, but it's a different one where if you don't care about politics, then you'll be ruled by your inferiors. And I think this is where we're at. And I think everyone that is vaguely awake right now realizes that all the smart people have ignored politics for way too long, and now we're actively being ruled by inferiors, and they want to take everything from us. And like I said, I don't have faith in the system. So either way, they're both going to be good for Bitcoin. Whether we have the Biden administration fighting Bitcoin, it'll just prove once and for all that Bitcoin can route around them, that we don't need politics. And if we have Trump giving us some cover, then we at least have some, political cover, and us Bitcoiners can build a better system. And as number goes up, more people will start to join us. And going back a little bit to the Larry Fink news, we've gotten to the point now where, of course, the normies out there, they still trust these people. And of course, in Bitcoin, we have the meme of like, slay your heroes. Not that Larry Fink or Trump or RFK Jr. are our heroes, but people still trust in these people. And we've gotten to the point now where it went from a professional hazard to embrace Bitcoin to a professional hazard to not embrace Bitcoin. And I think that is one of those shining moments moving forward, that like you have to have a Bitcoin stance. And we're seeing that play out in politics right now. It's like we say all the time, you're either for Bitcoin or you're for CBDC, or as Nico always says, you're either for freedom or you're against freedom. You're either for Bitcoin or you're for slavery. And it's becoming a very defining moment, I think, in Bitcoin's history. Not only is Bitcoin maturing in people's opinion of what Bitcoin is, but it's now becoming one of those defining conversations right now. And for better or worse, politicians are taking note of us Bitcoiners. So I don't think we have the luxury of squandering this opportunity and being like, oh, politics doesn't matter. It's like, no, let's get favorable laws in America, because what happens in America usually gets exported across the globe. And I want the world to embrace Bitcoin. So, pro-Bitcoin candidates are a good thing in my book. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And of course, when number goes up and everyone starts to get frothy in regards to Bitcoin price movement, man, it's looking like it's going to be an awesome, awesome end of the year in 2025.
It's going to be absolutely awesome. Anyways, to celebrate the awesomeness that's coming, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Thank you, Opti. The Pleb Party in Nashville 2024. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. It's a 12-hour open bar from noon to midnight, the day before the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, July 25th. So if you're going to the Bitcoin 2024 conference, I'll see you there. This is the party to be at the day before. Over 1,000 Bitcoin plebs are expected to attend. It's going to be hosted at an amazing rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls and tons of proof of work atmosphere. Confirmed attendees include Larry Lepard, Preston Pish, the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnup, and Adam O'Brien. Many other Bitcoiners are expected to attend as well. So guys, you don't want to miss this event. The last party sold out 8 days before the party. You can't get tickets at the door. So you want to get your tickets now while the prices are low. So scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. And I'll see you guys at the Pleb Party in Nashville, which is going to be absolutely badass. All right, everybody, let's hit the news. Lots to talk about.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, take you directly to the Foundation Devices website. Do it. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin so your grandchildren will talk to you. It's probably a good idea. Or they won't. That would suck ass. This is why it's important to take self-custody. And you need a hardware wallet to do that. Anyways, check this out. I mean, you could do it with a hot wallet. You could just send all your Bitcoin to your blue wallet, you know, on your phone. But I advise against that. You got to do it right. Anyways, so the news I want to talk about today, we always talk about this theme on this show. It's incredibly important, and we have to understand fundamentally what's going on, right? So the internet enabled the disintermediation of information and also the disintermediation of money. Both the disintermediation of information, you know, through social media, through protocols like Nostr, are incredibly important for you, the individual, because now all of a sudden you can consume new, quote unquote, news that is not propaganda. Better said, you can do your own research, right? It's not a coincidence that the most popular news app right now isn't coming from a central news agency. It's coming from Twitter, which really functions as a news aggregator, right? But if you're a government, that sucks ass for you. You can't just call the editor at New York Times and say, hey, I don't like that story. Or, hey, we need to convince the American public that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Like, there is no, you can't just call someone, right? Or Elizabeth Warren's case, like not that many months ago. Hey, we need to convince the American public that Hamas is using Bitcoin to launder money. Like, there is no one to call, right? So you kind of have to make the case for yourself using your own platform, and then the internet's going to judge the shit out of you. And what tends to happen is, like, telling the truth tends to work a lot better in your favor than trying to sell everyone on a lie, not to mention this community note feature, and not to mention the fact that memes can't be true. I mean, memes can't be funny and universally accepted unless they share the common denominator of truth, right? So all that being said, I had to give it a little bit of a preface here, because I know what a lot of you guys are thinking, like, Nico, what the fuck do I care about Nigeria? Like, I don't care about it. Like, this doesn't affect me. And what I got to say is it does affect you, because this is, I believe, a foreshadowing of what potentially is coming to the West. Remember what happened with the Biden administration when they launched the so-called Ministry of Truth using the Department of Homeland Security. That got shot down, but it's important to stay vigilant, because the fight for freedom of speech functions as the front line towards the fight to self-custody. If you think that if governments aren't okay with you speaking freely, what makes you think that they'll just roll over and say, you know what? He could take self-custody. He can't speak freely, but of course he could take self-custody. Self-custody is the most important statement you could make, in my opinion, to become a truly sovereign individual. Anyways, here's the headline from No BS Bitcoin. Nigerian banks can start collecting customers' social media handles for KYC checks. High court rules. Like, how dystopian is that shit? We would all get so, like, like, oh, we got to open. I would just create like a fake account where, like, I'm wearing a suit. I love the government. This is great. Like, you know, like, it's just is crazy. And again, this becomes like a forcing function. It's very similar to the social credit system in China. We've shown you guys the tower, right? Where they literally punish you if you have certain outlooks, or if you do certain types of behaviors that are conveniently against the authority of the government. They could punish you financially. They could take away points. You can't travel. You don't get better loans. And that becomes a forcing function, as people are like, look, I just want to put food for my family. I'll just shake my head and say yes and be an obedient slave, because I don't want to get hurt financially, right? And this is what's happening in Nigeria when you normalize this type of shit. Like for KYC checks, they need to check your social media. What does one have to do with the other? That is absolutely absurd. Anyways, Justice Digma dismissed a lawsuit filed by Lagos-based lawyer Chris Eck, who argued that the regulation as stated in Section 6 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Regulations 2023 was undemocratic, unconstitutional, and inconsistent with Section 37 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. Quote, for all it is worth, I do not see how asking a banking or potential banking customer to provide his social media handle can ever amount to a breach of privacy, the judge reported. The judge added that requiring a social media handle is comparable to requesting an email address or phone number. All these contact details serve as methods for a bank to reach out to a potential customer and conduct due diligence to assess their suitability for banking services. As such, this regulation does not violate customers' right to privacy. Now, what I got to say about this is like, okay, like keep shilling out the advertisement for Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't give a fuck what your social media handle is. Right? Bitcoin doesn't need your email address or phone number. You could just, you can earn Bitcoin anywhere around the world. You could download a Bitcoin wallet, bada bing, bada boom. You don't need all this bullshit. This is bullshit that is necessary under a system that steals from you. And because it steals from you, it needs to coerce you and control you in order for you to use it. Right? So this is what all this censorship, all this bullshit fundamentally comes from. Comes from the fact that people inherently know the system is broken. If they had an alternative, they would seek an alternative. So what the system does is it fights back. It censors you. It tries to deplatform you because it can't have people speaking against it. And that's the truth. Anyways, on the other side of the planet, it's a totally different conversation, right? Here's David Bailey, CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, says, I can't put into words how bullish I am right now. I thought there would be stepping stones from El Salvador to nation state adoption. We're inches away from full send mode in the world's most powerful and wealthy country. When America goes hard, every nation will follow. Moon. Here is Psychedelic Barto. He's been on Bitcoin Twitter for a long time. He said El Salvador is quietly becoming a prosperous country like Singapore, while leaders of US and Canada have their head up their asses. And here's Nayib Bukele said, we have increased the capacity of our geothermal plants by 10% by essentially recycling the water vapor in our binary cycle. More clean energy, continuous 24/7, and harnesses from our volcano without the need to import hydrocarbons. And of course, we know that some of that geothermal energy is being used by Bitcoin miners. Anyways, here's Kathy Wood at the Unchained event in, I believe it was in Austin, Texas. And she says, Bukele will increase El Salvador's GDP by 10x over his next 5-year term. He is making it an oasis for Bitcoin and AI in Latin America with tax incentives. Those are the two biggest forces moving forward, and he will make history. I completely agree. Here's the president of Bitcoin Magazine, Mike Germano. Had him on the show not too long ago. He says, quote, I agree with Kathy Wood that the economy will grow 10 times. El Salvador will be the Singapore of Central America or Latin America. Every time I come here, I see more companies opening offices and more development. Check this out. On the newspaper, you got Mike Germano on the page. That's so crazy, man. It's so crazy that there's a nation state that exists where the men with guns protect you and they don't protect the central bankers and, the fiat shitcoiners. So Nigeria, have fun staying poor, because obviously you don't appreciate freedom and sovereignty. I'm bullish on El Salvador. I'm bearish on Nigeria. Anyways, that's my take. Adam, what's your take on all this, brother?
Yo, man, the thing that stuck out to me the most, you pull up that Nigerian article again. The third bullet point, it just goes to show how much we've been lied to forever. Like, read this third bullet point again. This is the same as customers giving their email address or their phone number, except you can't read my emails and get my phone calls and texts. It's just such a lie. People have been, these authorities have been used to lying to us for so long. This is just wrong. Like, anyone who takes a half a second to think about what they're reading will catch that in how vastly different a social media account for KYC versus like email and phone number for communication. It's such a difference. But the Nigerian state, obviously, either one is incompetent, which could be the case, and they just are so dumb that they actually believe that. But I actually think the more reasonable or the more logical thought process there is that they are used to getting away with that kind of garbage. And if we went back throughout history, we have to look at what else were we told? Did we take at face value, not thinking we had to do our own research, not doing our own research, just blindly trusting the authority figures? And where has it gotten us? And it is, even here in North America, it's actually insane to me. I resonate quite harshly with people that say you get debanked for your specific views. Me, as like a Bitcoin entrepreneur for like 10 years, I don't get the privilege of big bank in Canada. I'm like debanked, deplatformed from the banking system. I have a very hard Bitcoin Well would not be the company it is today if I wasn't. So I thank them for that, because for large part, they helped me create a better alternative. But it's very painful. It's hard for my wife to go to the grocery store and not have like a normal payment experience, for her to go out with friends. Like, this is a real story. My wife's gone to a restaurant, tried to pay for dinner, card declined. She calls the bank and they say, "Oh, sorry, you don't bank here anymore." Like, boom, just snap overnight. You're done. You're out. Like, it's very, very painful. And so I resonate with banks debanking. However, I would love when I tell people that, they immediately jump to people who are not orange pilled, people who are not in Bitcoin. They say, "Oh, well, you must have done something bad. The bank would never act in that way. You are a criminal. You're a bad guy." And it's mind blowing to me how much respect we give these authorities when we can see now, once you wake up and you see how much and how often they lie or bend the truth or try to position things in a certain way. It is so, so, so heartbreaking. And so I agree. Massively bearish on Nigeria, but also heartbreaking for the people of Nigeria, because it means like there's going to be a massive revolution there. And like, Bitcoin can lead that, and Bitcoin can fund that, and Bitcoin can help support that. But it just means more pain. It just means that the people there are going to continue to be lied to. And that's a huge issue. And so, yeah, big time. And then on the other side, yeah, look at El Salvador. Look at the prosperity. Look at the abundance coming in to El Salvador. Look, I was listening to some clips of him and Tucker, like what they were the murder capital of the world. Bukele puts it so well. He's like, because Tucker asked him, like, people are saying you weren't that dangerous, and he's like, well, how much more dangerous can you get than murder capital? He's like, no, we were the worst. And then we adopted a Bitcoin standard, and we implemented some like regulations where, as you said, the men with guns protect the citizens, not the other men with power. And it's a great way. Bitcoin, I saw in the chat earlier, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And those principles, you can say, are disconnected from the fact that Bukele adopted Bitcoin and put on the treasury and is looking at things. But I don't think they are. They're directly related to the fact that once you start thinking in Bitcoin, once your time preference changes, you realize how little power you have. And we immediately shift from this selfish perspective into a life-giving perspective. And like right now, everyone in a fiat world is in competition with each other. But they're also in competition with this ominous third party who controls the power, who controls the money, and who controls the time effectively. When you remove that third party, we just get healthy competition. We get abundance. We get free market economics. We just get a better world to live in. We get prosperity, and we get, bullish on the future, and we get more children and happier children and more optimism. And it's just a better place. And so, yeah, big time bullish. We need, as human beings, to adopt that. And I think it's a win-win-win-win-win.
100%, man. Adam, like we get sold on this idea that America is a government by the people for the people, but this kind of theme that I've been mulling over in my head these last 3 or 4 days. Of course, Bitcoiners, this is what you think about, right? Like other people are like, did you see the latest show or whatever? I'm like, no, man, separation of money and state.
Totally. But I love that meme so much, the guy holding the flipper, and it's like, did you catch the game last night?
Did you watch the Oilers last night?
Dude, hey, Weathers are different, okay?
Oh, man. Hey, dude, I've been into it. This series, hockey is like actually super fucking dope. It is so
It is.
cool.
But here's the thing.
Extremely violent.
It is incredibly violent. It's closer to gladiator than it is to soccer. But I think that we have to remember, like, on the grand scheme, I personally, this is like, I was a child growing up in this city. Even 5 years ago, I would have been unable to focus on anything else. And like now, some nights I forget there's a game. Like, you know what I mean? This is what this city has talked about for 15 years since we've been in this position, and almost 20 actually. And it's like, it's so low on my priority because, again, like, my vision is higher. We as a group of Bitcoiners, we're thinking about more, right? We've got this low time preference. I think it's massive bullish.
100%. 100%. Opti, what's your take on this, bro? Do governments have their citizens hostage? What's your take?
Yes. Full stop. Yeah, next question.
Could you elaborate a little bit more?
What more do I need to elaborate on? It's pretty simple. Like, you can get debanked for very simple and innocuous reasons, like what Adam was telling us. And to that point, though, Adam, I feel like, especially since you're in Canada, that it's almost a badge of honor to be considered a financial terrorist. But that's a totally other can of worms here. But going back to like the Nigeria news, and just me personally thinking, like, if my socials got checked for my KYC eligibility, I'd have no chance of getting Bitcoin, like, period, full stop. And this is exactly why we fight CBDCs, because that would happen inherently in the process. Like, that would be a very simple process. They wouldn't even have to go to a judge. It'd be just like, yeah, that's how it works. This is what they want for you. And this is why we always say it's Bitcoin or slavery. It's Bitcoin versus freedom. It's Bitcoin versus CBDC, because if they are able to roll out a global CBDC, of course, you can argue about the technicalities of all that. That's going to be how the system is set up. And you can also even argue that that is already how the system is set up. It's just not like a global, world currency. But that's, again, a totally other conversation. And it goes back to what we say here on the show all the time. Like, if you can't say things freely on the internet, what makes you think that you're going to be able to transact freely? We know that it goes hand in hand, like, especially with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a freedom of speech issue. It's literally ones and zeros. It's literally code. And so as much as they try to fight information, that on the back end, it really terrifies them if they don't fight how money moves. And hence why it all goes hand in hand. They got to brainwash you. They got to psyop you into believing their narratives. And then, of course, they have to control the banking system. And this is why Bitcoin is so important. And again, this is why the status quo is so easily able to debate people over ridiculous, social media posts. And then one last thing that I was thinking while we were talking about this, Nico, is it's not lost on me, the irony that Nigeria's CBDC, the e-Naira, absolutely failed, and now they're trying to find another way to control people's money and the movement of wealth. They're like, oh, yeah, no one wanted to adopt the e-Naira, but now, we're going to connect your socials to your KYC eligibility so that you can't escape the system. And it's like, okay, at least, as we always say, Bitcoin exposes their incentives, and at least we can have very prominent examples of exactly what we talk about here all the time, is that they don't want you to transact freely because they're afraid of the truth, capital T, getting spread around the world. Because, again, where your money goes, that's what shows people, or rather the system, what is important to us. We say it all the time, vote with your money. That's the only vote that really matters. And then, of course, vote with your feet. But who wants to leave their home? And we're seeing all this play out in real time.
Yeah, and I think go ahead.
This is why it's so important to buy Bitcoin as soon as you possibly can, because it's going to be a massive premium in Nigeria. Like, this is just decoupling, and on the nation state terms, the Naira will kind of continue to do whatever it's going to do, but in Bitcoin terms, it's going to plummet. We saw this in South Korea in 2017. We saw it in Greece a little bit later on, I think. We saw it recently, I forget where, but we see when nations adopt these horrific, authoritative, communist perspectives and lock the money up, Bitcoin, freedom money, sells at a massive premium. You get less sats for your dollar the longer you wait. That's just built into Bitcoin's program. That's just built into the code. But it gets exacerbated. It gets more and more and more exaggerated when you have a government trying to prevent it.
100%, 100%. And I would say, guys, if you are to get a theme in today's show, I would say Bitcoin is money for you. Fiat is money for the state. And the reason I like to simplify a lot of these things is you see it from that very like simplistic lens. It makes it incredibly easy for you to just say that, right? That's a very like, that's a type of statement that someone who's like has like is like held hostage by the fiat system, like they're the type of person's like, no, I like the dollar. It's like, do you know what you're standing up for? You say that type of inflammatory statement, it's obviously going to piss them off, but they're really not going to know how to like defend it. They're not going to have a clue, right? So anyways.
Wait, I'm going to double down, Nico. Stop using the enemy's money, opt out of fiat, and stack Bitcoin.
Let's go.
Boom. Let's fucking go. All right, everybody. I'm so excited. We're going to hit the culture in a little bit, talk to Adam O'Brien about what they're working on over at Bitcoin Well. But first, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about the Orange Palap. Stack friends who stack sats. The Orange Palap is the Bitcoin social layer. Find local Bitcoiners, events, and merchants near you. Join the 10,485 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. Has a really clever filtration system, so you'll only find fellow Bitcoiners on the app. Has a really cool geographical feature. So if you travel to a new city, you don't know anyone in town, you pull up the Orange Palap, it will literally show you the Bitcoiners that are near you. So download the Orange Pill app today, scan the QR code, or check the link in the video description. One of the best ways to reach me via DM is the Orange Pill app. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture.
The Daily Culture.
All right, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, KABOOMRACKS, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. Check out their racks today by scanning the QR code or checking the link in the video description. That will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You can also sell your mining equipment with them, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with KABOOMRACKS. Also, check out their special deal that is currently live right now. They're offering instant hosting for an S19K Pro. There's a one-time payment of $2,466 plus $160 per month thereafter. Your hash rate goes online after your payment is confirmed. You own the miner. This is not a hash rate contract. The price includes a 3-month security deposit and first month. So if you guys want to start hosting instantly, check out the special sale that's going on by KABOOMRACKS. Also, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. Scan the QR code or check the link in the video description. All right, man, I'm so excited. I'm hyped. I gotta say, like, we were talking in the beginning of the show, and we had James on, and I'm like, what? Adam's not coming today. And I'm like, all right, sweet, James is here. And then Adam comes, and I'm like, oh, okay, Adam's here.
Wait. For context,
it was like a roller coaster of emotions.
For context in the chat, James is basically Canadian Opti for Bitcoin Well and Adam.
We call Opti American James, actually.
Oh man, dude, that was so funny. Okay, so we were at BitBlock Boom, and it was just like the first time Adam and I are like in person, so we're like bonding. It's great, and we go outside of the Airbnb, and I look at Adam and I'm like, we're all wearing black. And then I'm like, oh wow, this is cool. And then I look, and it's Opti and James in front of us. They're literally wearing khaki pants and a white shirt, and the hats are literally backwards, it's almost they matched on purpose. Adam and I have beards. They're like clean shit. It was really weird. And I'm like, Adam, let me ask you something. If you were to call someone at 3 a.m. to talk about Bitcoin, well, who would it be? He's like, it's James. And he's like, he's your Canadian Opti. And then he's like, no, wait. I'm like, and then I start asking him more questions. He's like, yeah, that's right. Oh man, it was so funny. It was funny. It was one of those you had to be there moments, I guess. Anyways, bro, I'm so hyped. I love the Bitcoin wishing well feature that you guys released. It's been a fan favorite. It's absolutely awesome. Dude, just the UI aspect of it is incredibly cool. Do I have the right page pulled up? Yeah, thanks, Opti. And there we go. Let's redeem some points. Opti, have you been redeeming those for yourself?
No, I haven't, but I'm about to if it's a million one. I'm pulling up my wallet right now. All right, cool. We're safe.
Oh man. So Adam, like this is so fucking awesome. This is so cool. Could you talk a little bit about that specifically? Like why the 90s? Like what made the 90s the decade?
Dude, so yeah, we were thinking about this and we wanted to do some kind of rewards. We had to make the points. Like our margins are so thin, and I mean everyone can see that because our margins are spread, right? And on the spread, we got to pay for development, marketing, we got to pay for like all the actual costs of processing transactions. And so, to do a rewards, whoa, 2100, let's go. Hopefully someone claims that before Opti gets his
No, I'm only going to claim the million.
And so we were like thinking about how to make it cool, and the wishing well is like the obvious answer because the opportunity to win big amounts of sats is just way better. And then I was thinking about like our name Bitcoin Well, it originated from like the source of life being water. And so the first thing a settler did when they found new land was they had to dig a well. They had to find water and then hit it, right? And so we are the source for sovereignty. We want to enable independence. We want people to have maximum independence. And so Bitcoin Well kind of came about that way. And the double entendre of Bitcoin Good was just too much. So I was thinking kind of in that mindset, in that brain about how and why we exist. And I felt like nostalgia kept coming back to me. Like I grew up in the 90s. I think most of us grew up in the 90s. And it was a time when, we all threw coins into a wishing well at the mall or whatever, made a nice wish, had a nice, feeling about that. And, wishing wells, like, they're not real, right? Wishes don't come true just because you throw a penny into a well. But it did give me the thought of let's give out actual sat. Let's give out real money from the wishing well. And I wanted to play on that nostalgia vibe. And you can kind of see that from some of the language that we use in there. I think on the blog post, we described it as like when Bitcoiners are coming of age, we all wished for a better future into the wishing well. And in classic Bitcoin fashion, it waited 25 years to give it to us because we now have a better future. We now know that prosperity can exist. We now know that we have separation of money and state on the horizon. And I don't know if all the pennies we threw into the wishing well as a child made that happen. We'll have to ask Satoshi one day, but at least this wishing well gives you real money, and it kind of hits that good feeling that you used to have when you were a kid. So that's the thesis. That's the thought behind it. Winning up to 1 million sats is just awesome. We wanted to make our rewards points big. The more this gets used, the more Bitcoin Well grows. I think you guys have seen, like, we build in public and we change things quickly. And we wanted to make sure that this was something that was going to be, epic. And that's what it is. So everyone, like when you sign up and make your first transaction, you get 3, like kind of the points that you accumulate throughout that journey is going to be equivalent to 3 coin tosses into the wishing well. So 3 chances to win 1 million sats. But today, everybody listening has a chance to win 6 extra coin tosses. And this kind of hits on some of the banter we've had back and forth already. It has to do with the Oilers.
Is this what I think it is? Okay, I know
what you think it is, the Oilers. So if you go into and click hockey poll, Nico, I don't think you've seen this. If you click hockey poll, you get to pick Edmonton or Florida.
No.
And if you pick correctly, right? Yeah, there you go. That's it. Edmonton. Go Edmonton. Wait. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll have to go back to that for a second. If you click correctly, whoever wins the cup, everyone who picks correctly is going to get 6 extra tosses. But wait here. You only pick one time. So only your first one's going to count. And I put a very scary threat in here. Do not make multiple selections or we'll send Vitalik after you. So unless you want Vitalik coming to your door in his kitty pajamas, I'll leave it at that. Only pick one time. And only your first pick will check. But it's very, very simple. Pick Edmonton, pick Florida, whoever wins the Stanley Cup. If you picked correctly, you're going to get 6 extra coin tosses loaded into your account. So, and obviously, people have brains here. I think right now, we're seeing some Florida votes come in, but it's leading to Edmonton at this point. So I'll update you guys as we go. Team Edmonton is going to win. If you pick Florida, Like, what are you doing? You're just, yeah, it's 2-0 Florida right now. I see you, JH, but it's like, it's a red, like, you got to win 4. So it's like, good for you. It's 2-0, but it's going to be 4-2 for the Edmonton Oilers. So yeah, go and vote. We wanted to find a way, like we're literally from Edmonton. We're a Canadian company, wanted to find us a fun way to get people, bring the great sport of hockey to the Bitcoiners. I think hockey is the most Bitcoiner sport on the earth. And pick Edmonton or Florida. You can pick Florida if you're dumb, but you pick Edmonton if you're smart and passionate. and then voila, if you guess correctly, you're gonna get some 6 extra chances to win 1 million sats. So that's there you go. Off you go.
Dude, oh man, bro, I said this in the beginning, but I'm gonna say it again. I think it's absolutely hilarious. Out of all the teams in the NHL, the ones that went up against Edmonton are the cities that me and Opti are from. Because the name of the team is Florida Panthers, but the arena is in Miami, right? It's in like North Miami type of place, but it's like the Miami hockey team. Like everyone knows that. I completely forgot it even existed up until Adam was like, oh, and I'm like, wait, the Florida Panthers are in the, I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, I think that's the Miami team. And I've been watching it and I watched the game. And I got to say, I'm like, holy cow, a lot of people like hockey down here. You know, they have like a ritual. They throw rats apparently at the end. Like they have a whole culture and everything. It's crazy. I didn't even know that existed.
We throw big steaks on the ice. Alberta beef gets thrown onto the ice. It's pretty epic. Yeah, man, hockey goes hard. The Detroit people throw octopus. Like it's no joke, man. So definitely, inside your Bitcoin Well account, you can go click hockey poll, pick Edmonton or Florida to win the cup. And if you pick right, boom, 6 extra chances to win 1 million sats with the Bitcoin Wishing Well. And you're guaranteed to win sats. So what have we done? We've done like six coin tosses on this show. One was 2,100 sats. So that's, I don't know. There's 500 sats is like the base prize, 2,100, 21,000, 210,000, and then 1 million. So
all right, my take 210,000 also. Sorry, guys. No. Can we talk about what else the Edmonton Oilers and the Panthers have been throwing on the ice? Well, not really throwing on the ice, but throwing towards the ice. Some good old fashioned melons. That's been pretty amazing.
Like Ed? Oh, melons!
Oh my God!
This is a family friendly show. Sorry. Let's get into the combo.
I wanted to talk about this.
We actually had, I'll give you guys a story, and I saw some chat about the stock. So this'll
yeah. I want to, couple things I want to talk about as well, Adam. So yeah, keep going.
The one of our investors called me the next day after that video went viral. For those of you who don't know, it was like the Oilers winning and this girl just like completely flashing the whole arena, and then looking around, seeing her friend filming her and kind of being like, ah, and then it just blew up, went viral. One of my investors called and they were like, you're making that girl your mascot, right?
I know who it is too. Oh man, I have a feel that voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, man, it was pretty funny. But yeah, no, it's definitely an exciting time to be in the city, and we're looking forward to Edmonton or Florida. Let's see what is a Simply Bitcoin crew like. I mean, everyone should just do a vote because it's like go Stars.
Opti, can you do a vote on the YouTube?
Yeah. All right, Nico, talk lightning, and then we'll ask Adam a couple questions.
So another thing that you guys recently launched, and I remember seeing this in person in Montreal when we were staying together. This is absolutely awesome, and I've never seen this before, Adam. So this is essentially this new feature that you released for your Canadian customers, and I know that you're talking about it, coming to the States potentially soon. Especially, again, I'm going to tie it up with what I was saying in the beginning. Guys, this is the type of innovation that if you have a hostile regulatory environment, you de-incentivize this type of innovation. This is absolutely awesome, right? So if the US keeps heading in the path that it's heading, it's like this might not come to the US for no reason. It's like the same reason that Wallet of Satoshi pulled out. It's the same reason. Like they didn't pull out because they wanted to pull out. They pulled out because they felt like they had a necessity to, because potentially they'd be locked into a box, right? Or put in a box. Anyways, so it's the instant sell feature. And TLDR, and Adam, please interrupt me if I'm describing this wrong, but essentially what you can do is you'll have a Bitcoin Well address, and you can send Lightning directly to that address, and it automatically sells for you. You don't have to go onto the platform, nothing. You just send sats, automatically sells for you, and then automatically deposits it into your Bitcoin wallet, right? So it's absolutely bought off. Go ahead.
Into your bank account.
Into your bank account. I apologize.
In Canada, we have, like, you guys have Venmo in the States. We have e-transfer, which is pretty similar. When you don't have a bank, though, you can't send an e-transfer. And so we made this to send an e-transfer to the email on file, and then you can send that e-transfer to anyone in the world or in Canada. But what this feature does is it allows you, and kind of accidentally, we made this really, really good for merchants, where a merchant can now accept Bitcoin but not keep the Bitcoin. This is great to use Bitcoin as a payment function, less as a treasury asset, which, say what you will, that is the first step. And from my perspective, that's very important, because I want to be able to spend Bitcoin, because it's way easier than spending money that I have to work around in the banking system. And so when we launched this, I went to my golf course and I just said, hey guys, you guys take e-transfer. We're running into problems with our banks. Can you just make a Bitcoin wallet account, get your email that you get, use your email that you get e-transfers to, and then that's all you have to do. And he did that, and now I can pay the golf course in Bitcoin. This guy here, this is epic. This guy literally sent sats from Minecraft and got deposit into his fiat bank account in Canada in 30 seconds. It's bang on. And so we'll do the same thing in the States, where it'll initiate a payment to your bank account or add it to your Bitcoin well balance. But the next thing that we're going to be building on top of this, which I'm very excited for, is swaps. And so you can see how we're using the payment address is sell.btcw.app. And the next payment address will be swap.btcw.app. And when you send Lightning to swap, it'll then it'll send coins to your predetermined on-chain Bitcoin address. And why that's so important is that I believe fundamentally that you should always be taking your coins off platform. But in today's day, in Bitcoin in 2024, when you DCA, I have a $69 DCA that goes out twice a week. Taking a $69 UTXO is kind of dumb in 2024 with current UTXOs and current sats per dollar. And so taking that in Lightning in the easiest way possible, just to get it off platform, just get it away from the people that sell you Bitcoin. And then giving our customers a really easy way to consolidate their Lightning payments in a larger UTXO into their cold storage is going to be the future. And that's going to be the way to DCA safely. Because, one of the comments that we've been getting from the audience is wow, I want to buy $25 in Bitcoin. I have to make a UTXO. This sucks. And so the way to combat that, most people are okay, yeah, I guess we'll just be custodial and we'll just keep your Bitcoins and you can just be exposed to us. But I want no part of that. There's never been a custodian that has not been incentivized at the very least to do bad things. And I just want zero part of doing bad things. And I love being able to say that if right now we turned off, unplug the servers, turn everything off, website goes down, nothing, there's zero customer Bitcoin lost. I don't think any other platform in the world can say that. That's amazing. None of the platforms that you use in the States can say that. Right now, if we turned off our servers, there would be zero customer Bitcoin lost. And I want to keep it that way forever. And so the way to do that is we're going to enable people to stack off-chain, stack in Lightning, and then consolidate into larger UTXOs, which I think is the best way to do it. And so that's what we're running towards. We're testing it out here in Canada. It's working awesome. People love it. It's the fastest way to go from Bitcoin to fiat, and that's a nice thing.
Dude, I'm so bullish, and there's something that you said, and I wanted to focus on that, which is this idea of if the servers get shut off or turned off for whatever reason, Justin Trudeau gets pissed off, and it just goes bananas. There's no Bitcoiners that are crossing in the crossfire, and I would say how do I say this in a
diplomatic way?
The reality is that it creates a misalignment of incentives, because if you have the ability, and like it might be innocent, but the thing is that there's a creep, right? Over time, it's much harder to do it the right way, right? Because you can make a really solid argument as to the case that like that's less convenient. If it's less convenient, if it adds a step, you potentially might lose a sophisticated, or you might lose a potential customer because they default to convenient. But this is why I said it's the right thing to do. It's the right way to build this type of platform, because it incentivizes taking a little bit of personal responsibility and learning Bitcoin, right? Which is we want to make that's why we work so hard to make it so easy to do. And sometimes we miss. Sometimes we make things harder to do by trying to make things easier, but we iterate and we have feedback. And one thing you said, like, yes, there is the risk of authoritative, Justin Trudeau loses his mind, or POTUS loses their mind, like whatever. There's that. But there's also just like servers just fail. Like, what happens if the hardware fails? What happens if there's an earthquake? What happens if there's, any number of natural disasters? What happens if there's a fire in the servers and there's redundancies and blah, blah, blah. But we have seen servers fail time and time and time and time again in Bitcoin, but also in just general, like, internet things. People forget, we're all horny on the cloud, but like the cloud is just someone else's computer. When your Bitcoin are held on an exchange, that's someone else's wallet. And you have to trust that someone else is protecting their wallet from hackers, from natural disasters and physical threats, and then from 6102. Like the government is 1/3 of the problems that you experience when you trust someone else with your Bitcoins. And so, it's not the easiest way to build, but Bitcoin is not the easiest money to have. No one's out here like, Bitcoin is way easier than everything else. No. It's better, and better is not easier. Better is better. Better is more longevity. Better is better for your family. Better is more abundant. Easier is the opposite of those things. And if you have security and convenience on a scale, like the further you get towards security, the further away you get from convenience. And this is where Bitcoin that's why we work so hard. That's why, like Opti said earlier, it's a benefit that I am considered a financial terrorist here in Canada, because I can think, wow, I am struggling to send payments to my normie friends right now. How do I do that? Oh, what if I had a way to send Bitcoin to some, static payment address, receive an e-transfer that I can then send to my friends? And you can see how that gets better and better and better and better over time. So I think it is a mindset that we have to adopt. We try to apply fiat products to Bitcoin. What we don't do is apply fiat principles to Bitcoin. And I think that's kind of the main difference. Is how do you use money is so much of a broader question and such a better question to answer and apply Bitcoin to than how can we stuff Bitcoin into the existing fiat box, which I think, most Bitcoin companies can be accused of. And we think, how do we take the fiat box, blow it apart, and then apply Bitcoin to what people actually use money for? And it's very exciting and very hard and very stressful. But I love being able to build with the audience here and do it. Do it with you guys. It's super fun.
Yeah, love it. Hey, Adam, we did get a few questions. Sorry, not to cut you off, Nico. First one was in the beginning of the show. And just to paraphrase, someone commented like they haven't bought Bitcoin since they bought it on Voyager and they got rug pulled, and they were asking, what's the best place to buy Bitcoin? And I said, we got the CEO of Bitcoin Well. So reframing that question for you, Adam, why is Bitcoin Well the best place to buy Bitcoin?
Yeah, man. It's exactly that. You can't get rugged. Like we force you to self-custody. And so what that means is part of onboarding is email address, password, Bitcoin address. You have to give us your Bitcoin address before you connect your bank, before you KYC, before you send us money. You got to send us your Bitcoin address. We're not going to sell you any Bitcoin unless we know where to send it. And that key distinction, it's like, oh, what's the big deal? I can withdraw off a platform. Yeah, but are you? And is your mom, is your aunt, is your grandma, is your little daughter going to do that when she's 12 and you're setting her up with an account to buy Bitcoin with her paper route money? That key difference of forcing self-custody takes away the decision to take self-custody. It's a decision you make one time when you use Bitcoin Well for the first time. And then after that, it's automatic. And as we get recurring buy, as we get better and easier ways to make it possible to sell and buy Bitcoin more conveniently, I think that's the better play. We've been doing this for a year and a half in Canada. We're the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada. Hard stop. That's just objective at this point. And also, I want to also really like talk about. Someone's asking me about the stock, or have been talking about the stock in the chat. Yeah, like Bitcoin. Well, we're publicly traded. We went public in Canada in 2021. We did that as a Bitcoin ATM company because there was no other option for us to be able to grow and expand. And we actually expanded. We gave other Bitcoiners our newly public equity to grow the Bitcoin ATM business. And then we've been able to build the Bitcoin portal on the Bitcoin ATM success. So that's been really awesome to be able to do. And now I love the idea. I love the concept of having our customers be our shareholders and our shareholders be our customers. I've got this vision for like this Bitcoin super company. And I believe that, you look at Meta and he's got like he's kind of wants to be like the metaverse super company, which like, that is what it is. Let's take the actual, widget aside. But as far as this like super company goes, a bunch of different businesses, a bunch of different brands, a bunch of different companies with separate leadership and strategic focused vision, all that want to support the mission of Meta has a lot of weight. But Bitcoin Well, our mission is to enable independence. And right now we do that through Bitcoin ATMs and we do it through the Bitcoin portal. But where else can that grow? How else can we enable independence, right? There's, certainly inside like social media, the Nostr side of things is insane. And I think there's a lot of value that a company whose mission to enable independence can integrate Nostr. There's media, education, different ways that we can integrate and look at international remittances. There's all kinds of different avenues that we can use to enable independence. And I do not believe that we are just simply some vessel to like pump, like just pad shareholder pockets. What we want to do is create maximum value for the world. And we're so mission focused that we've got this low time preference that gives us the ability to build products that is, like that. So I just wanted to address that. I saw this stock come up a couple times.
Love it. Yeah. And Adam, for the audio listeners, what is the stock tickers? And guys, it's up here every single day. Wait, how do I do this?
Yeah. BTCW if you're in Canada and BCNWF if you're in the States. However, we're on the OTC markets in the States, so you can't buy it on Robinhood, which sucks. But
when Robinhood.
Yeah, come on, Robinhood. Where you at? Get our penny stock on there. But in reality, like as we grow and expand, and as we graduate out of penny stock territory and into junior cap, and then into just like mid cap, and like as we grow, as we see success, as the Simply Bitcoin audience continues to tell their friends that self custody is the way to go. It's amazing talking and talking to investors, like talking 3 years ago to investors, everybody discounted self-custody. You got to become custodial. It's going to be easier for your client. All the stuff that we know, right? This is the easier path. Do it. And I was steadfast. No. Why don't you have Dogecoin? Why don't you have, shitcoin of the day on your portal? Because it's not sound money. We want to enable independence. And we do that through making it easy to use Bitcoin. And now today, investors have changed their tune. They're like, wow, self-custody focus. This is so unique. This is so much better. You're saying it's safer. I believe you now. I get it. Oh, wow. When you're not distracted with a bunch of other random blockchains and random tokens, you can focus on making Bitcoin easy to use. This is what happens. This is how it goes. So I think it's working. It's low time preference. And I think at the end of the day, it's just like community. Use the portal. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us how to make it better. And tell us what's preventing you from telling your sister to use it. Because if your sister uses it successfully, then, we're going to win.
Absolutely. We're going to
one more question, Anika. Sorry. I know we're running long, but this is something I see in the chat all the time and I tell you guys constantly, but I'll give Adam the floor here. It goes, if a purchase goes directly to an address, then isn't that bad for UTXO management?
Yeah, there's trade-offs. We're going to be implementing Lightning so that you can just buy Bitcoin like on a recurring schedule and send it straight to your Lightning address. And then we're going to give you the ability to swap from Lightning to on-chain, probably for free if you're doing like a recurring buy system. We got to figure out what the pricing is going to look like still. So that is one way to combat it. But also just like just watch, like the fees are not going up forever, right? The fees kind of bounce around. And so I personally have been stacking on chain for 10 years, but like, religiously in this like 2 or 3 times a week type of schedule for years. And I just watch the fees. And when the fees are in the, 10, 20 sats per V byte, I consolidate, and that's no problem. It's part of the effort, part of the work of being sovereign is just having something to look out for. And honestly, consolidating UTXOs is like a really good practice because it gets you familiar sending Bitcoin. It gets you, you got to go dig up the old hardware wallet. You got to like get familiar with your hardware wallet client. You got to get used to, what does it look like to make a PSBT and then sign that on your hardware wallet and then put that back into the client. And it's like a good practice to go through. It's a bit grounding. It's like, wow, this is healthy. This is important. This is what I'm going to have to teach my kids one day and what they're going to have to teach their grandkids one day. And I think it's a good part of being a Bitcoiner.
100%. And it's also therapeutic as fuck.
Yeah, man, it's like, cool. And that mempool graph, like, oof, it's pants a little tight.
it feels awesome, man. Like the consolidation that feels great because you're not going to fuck it up. What still like fucks with me till this day is I don't know what the correct technological, I'm sorry, Ben, term for this is, but when you essentially send Bitcoin to a bunch of different addresses, which I think like a lot of people don't do very often, but I have to do it once a month. Pay to many. And that you have to like check like 50 times. But that is super satisfying when you pull it off as well, yeah, right? But a consolidation
journey.
Yeah. But consolidation is like therapeutic because you're like picking the addresses. You're like this one. I'm just gonna put it in one big pot, and then your hardware wallet tends to tell you like, okay, this is a consolidation. So you're like, okay, I'm in the clear. But yeah, man, it's I'm happy to be a part of kind of this journey, and this is a philosophy that we've adopted from the very early days of Simply Bitcoin, which is we build out in the open, right? Like from the beginning, and then you see the progress over time. Like, don't trust what we're gonna say, trust our work, right? Which is very Bitcoin. That ethos is very Bitcoin-esque. And that's something that I appreciate that you guys do, right? And one of the best ways, guys, if you have feedback about the platform, you want to connect with Adam as well. I see people in the chat mentioning his shorts, which are hot fire. They've been dropping. Opti's done an incredible job, and so has Adam. And
it's all Adam, dude. I just tee him up.
And yeah, like, guys, one of the best ways to reach Adam is to follow his Twitter. You go to Adam O'Brien _ message him on Twitter if you have any feedback or regards to it. If you have any 90s quotes for the Bitcoin wishing well.
Oh, we actually made a hashtag. If you have any 90s quotes or like 90s stats that you want in the or in the wishing well, I think it's retro well. It's in the blog post. I'll tweet it out in a minute. But hashtag retro well with your quote and tag at the Bitcoin well, or tag me if you want. Then we'll pick the best ones and we'll actually put them in the Bitcoin wishing well rotation and give you some credit in there too. So definitely want to make this a bit of a community fun.
Hell yeah, man. Well, dude, that's
all right, Nico. I know you're gonna wrap up.
Awesome.
Adam, what's your last 2 cents for the audience?
Use the Bitcoin wishing well, have some free sats, and go to the hockey poll and give Edmonton some love because we could really use it. Go Oilers. Let's go. Florida sucks. Just go off here until you guys cut me off.
Oh man. I do want to give a head so we ended the poll. We did a YouTube poll and it says who wins the Stanley Cup. Oilers got 52% of the vote.
Let's go.
The Panthers got 47% of the vote. I don't know how those percentages worked out.
Mine's different. It says, where'd it go? You ended it. It was 56 Panthers.
Oh, really? That's so weird. Anyways,
the only real poll, like if you're gonna win the 6, and by the way, it's 6 because Oilers will win their 6th cup when they win the series here. That's why it's 6 coin tosses into the Panthers have 0. But it's if you want to win 6 free coin tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well, all you got to do is go to your Bitcoin well account, click rewards, click hockey poll, and then pick the winner. Who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year? Everyone who guesses correctly gets the 6 coin tosses.
Oh man, dude, that's so sick, guys. Oh man, I'm excited. Tonight. No, there was a game yesterday When's the next game?
Thursday is the next one because they got to travel across the continent now to get back to Edmonton.
Boom, boom. All right, everybody. Well, if you guys enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. This is Simply Bitcoin for June 11, 2024. I'm your host, Nico, my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, and our guest for today, the badass Bitcoin entrepreneur and CEO of BitcoinWell.com, Adam O'Brien. Anyways, guys, we love you all. We'll be back tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, and we'll be back with a Simply Bitcoin IRL. And of course, stay tuned for Rustin's videos and Adam and Opti's shorts. They're coming in hot fire. All right, everybody. Love you all. We'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
This episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.